Talking about artificial intelligence, the first name that comes to mind for me is Alphabet, of course, and ticker symbols Goog and Google. This is a little handy fellow who, that's actually what I look like when I'm not projected on a screen. This yellow fellow over here. Um, but Google actually is, we think of Google as being a search engine, as being and as having sort of business suites and various other things. But Google is actually doing a lot behind the scenes. Google specifically and Alphabet, the other companies part of Alphabet in general, actually doing a lot behind the scenes, especially in artificial intelligence. And to set the stage, actually, for a lot of modern and contemporary artificial intelligence work, you actually have to go back to 1997, when IBM's Deep Blue first beat international grandmaster Garry Kasparov in chess. This was a big deal considering that Deep Blue had actually, and people don't remember this, the year before, Deep Blue had actually failed to do this. It had played Garry Kasparov and lost. So it kind of had a rematch in 97 and was able to win. And of course, Deep Blue was IBM's thing. And IBM also shocked the world in 2011 when its Watson defeated Ken Jennings and Brad Rutter on Jeopardy. But Google actually made headlines a few years later in 2017, and this was sort of the big prize. Its AlphaGo computer defeated a Chinese Go master 3 games in a row in 2017. And Go is so much more complex than chess in terms of the number of possible moves and the number of possible iterations that Google didn't do what IBM did with Deep Blue. In 1997, Deep Blue, literally, the programmers had Deep Blue consider every possible move and go out for to examine every single possibility and then go back and pick whichever one had the most possible win combinations going off of that branch that it set. Because Go is thousands and thousands of times more complex with so many more possible moves. I mean, I believe there's something like trillions of possible moves or possible sequences in any given Go game. What AlphaGo, which was Google's project, did, they taught it by having it play itself, playing itself against games to sort of figure out what the best practices and best strategy were. And sort of out of that process, this actually, the chess and the Go things, launched Google and Alphabet's interest in solving these sorts of AI and machine learning problems. It would take a long time to go through all of the things that Google and Alphabet are trying to do in AI and machine learning because they have numerous projects. But I just want to highlight one of those. So DeepMind is the name of the Alphabet subsidiary, much like Google is an Alphabet subsidiary. DeepMind is the Alphabet subsidiary that specifically is looking at AI and machine learning. And DeepMind, Google turned this to the question of protein folding. So this is a very specific process in biotech. So when a protein forms from a bunch of amino acids, it takes these amino acids, which are all shaped like little strings, little chains, and it sort of folds them, forms them into this sort of 3D structure, much like almost like folding a piece of paper into an origami bird or other animal. The thing is, it uses sort of many of the same amino acids. It can form them into these structures, but each structure determines what that protein can do. So think of it as you can take the same piece of paper and fold it into numerous origami animals. The same is true with protein. However, if your protein is a little bit off, if it gets folded just slightly wrong, it can cause a whole host of genetic issues, including things like cystic fibrosis. That's a result of a protein that is just formed slightly differently. It can take years and tons and tons of money and research to try to analyze a single protein's structure and fold and be able to predict how it's going to work in the lab. So So Alphabet's DeepMind decided to try to solve this problem in 2016. They start working on AI in 2016. In 2018, they have this program called AlphaFold. It squeaks out a win just barely in the biennial CASP competition, which is a biennial competition to see if we can predict how proteins are going to fold based on the amino acids that go into them, essentially replicating by prediction these years and years of lab work and all of this money. And then just last year in 2020, DeepMind came back with AlphaFold 2, so 2 years later, and essentially they CASP announced this problem's been solved because AlphaFold 2 was able to replicate by simple prediction modeling, was able to basically replicate what it takes scientists years and years to do in the lab looking at the actual protein. It was able to predict, yes, this is what it's going to look like. And so this has incredible implications for biotech and for genetics work and other disease and condition treatment fields. And that's like just literally one thing that Google and Alphabet are doing out of the dozens of things that they are doing in this field.